All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching today's event. I'd like to thank once again the Philippines Career Excellence, the Executive Service Committee members for really inviting me to this wonderful and very esteemed event. And as a closing, I was able to hear a couple talks. They were really great talks, and personally I've learned from the talks, and so it's been such a wonderful privilege. But as a closing, I just want to kind of spend about 10 to 15 minutes trying to wrap things up, and want to provide you with 4 sort of call to actions to everyone who is here today. So if you can help me to kind of pull up the slide, that's going to be that's going to be great. And I just want to also congratulate the finalists to the award. So my sincere congratulations to the finalist. All right, so if we can go to the next slide, I've been, thinking, quite broadly and deeply about leadership over the past couple of years. I want to, first of all, kind of let you know that I'm not an expert in leadership, but I am in the process of learning in what ways we can exercise an effective leadership. And I just want to kind of point this out to you. I have 5 stories with me that has significantly impacted who I am today and the work that I'm doing today. And as you can see, I'm originally from South Korea, but as seen in the first story, but in the second story, I have put the Philippines there. The Philippines, in fact, is my a second home at heart, because I've spent 10 years in the Philippines growing up. My parents were humanitarian workers, and my time spent in the Philippines has really defined who I am and the work that I'm actually doing today. Next slide, I want to kind of mention to you that after experiencing, or after taking up a diverse career background, I have kind of come up with what I call 5 things that the thriving organizations do well, right? 5 things that the thriving organizations do well. Having kind of worked with, or having worked for different organizations, I was able to kind of observe and kind of come up with 5 patterns that kind of delineates what are the 5 things that the thriving organizations do well. Now, I don't think I have a time to actually go over them or go over all the list, but I just want to mention 4. And these are not actually coming from the 5 things that the thriving organizations do well, but I just kind of want to help you in a way. It has to be a call to action. After having spent all these time together, I think it's really important that now that you have learned, right, things that you have put into your head, the things that you have picked up, and what are the skills, I think it's really time for us to put them into an action. And so I have put them, these 4, into what I call the 4 things, the 4 call to action. Now, first one I'd like to mention to you is that really hope that everyone can be aspirational. I hope that all of us can be hopeful. Number 2, I hope that everyone is able to be honest, right? It is very important that we have to be honest with ourselves. Number 3, it is very important that I'd like to ask everyone to be courageous. And lastly, number 4, I want everyone to be disciplined. Now, what does this mean? Let's go over to the next slide. Number 1, it is very important, after going through all these entire programs and after hearing all these esteemed speakers, right, deliver their talks, the conclusion that we should make is that we have to be aspirational. Especially people in the working for the government, you have to be aspirational. What does aspirational mean, right? It means that we are being hopeful. In front of us, we've got 3 paths. One is that, yes, we have the path that leads towards growth. But another path will lead us to what we call the mediocrity. Or the third path that could lead us to could be what we call decay or decline. You know what? The 3 paths in front of us. How do we choose it? It all depends on what you do today, right? I think I've heard one of the talks saying that, what we do today is very important, right? So in front of us, we've got 3 different paths, and then we will be the ones who will be deciding where we are going to be or what we are going to be. And I have no doubt that all of us have this aspiration that we want to have the path leading to growth, both quantitative qualitative, right? Being happy, but at the same time, your economy grows, more jobs. But at the same time, you're being happy about this. You feel that there is a great deal of hope, that this is the country that we want to give to our future generation. You feel that whatever that you're doing is contributing to the welfare of the Philippines, right? So that's what we call the aspiration, where we want to be, what we want to be. Aspirational means that, you know what, we are being hopeful, that we have this hope that whatever we do today, we are going to create a better future, right? Yeah, right now, you may be feeling, it all depends on what kind of feeling that you might have. Some of you might feel that, you know what, we are growing. Some of you might feel that, you know what, we are stuck. But some people might think that, we are actually in the state of decline. But whichever state that you are in, we all have an aspiration that's the better future that we want to achieve. Now, if you want, where you are today called the reality, the current reality, and that's the desired reality, the better future that you want to achieve, we need to make progress. Yes, if you want to be hopeful and aspirational, it comes along, it doesn't come to you as a free gift. It comes along with some effort. And the word progress, if you look into the dictionary, basically means what? It means an action. It means, an activity. Activity basically means something that you do, right? Intentionally, deliberately. That's what you're doing. And because of that activity that you are doing, that is making things better for you, better tomorrow. Today is better than yesterday. Tomorrow is going to be better than today. Today was better than your yesterday, right? So that brings better things, stronger things, something of the higher state. And that comes with an activity that you cause, with a good intention. And that progress should be able to benefit not only yourself, but also others. Look up in your dictionary, that's what it says. If you look at the next slide, as I mentioned to you, if you want to be aspirational, then you have to do something. Now, very important thing that you have to do is how you respond to the given circumstances. We are living in a highly uncertain world. There are things that come to you by letting you know, noticing you that things are coming. But there are a lot of things that comes to you without, comes to you by surprise. But how we are going to be creating a better future depends on what kind of response to any given circumstances. Let's look at the next slide. There will be, as I mentioned to you, warnings, right? There will be warnings. Warning means that, those are the things that you have to pay attention to. But those, and you also have what we call the disruptors, things that are already in place, shaking things up, shaking your system, right? It can be, system basically means it can be on a national level, it can be a global level, it can be a company level, it can be an organizational level, ministry level, whatever that is, right? It can impact all across. So we are dealing with two things, right? Disruptors, something that's already disrupting you, but there are also warnings that are letting you know that, come on, Samuel, these are the things that you have to pay attention to. And therefore, if you are responsible leader, then you should be able to put up the right response. Now, based on my own personal experience, there are 4 responses that many of the mediocre companies or mediocre organizations or mediocre countries or the organizations or the countries that are heading towards decay. Number 1, they don't see these warning signs or they don't see these disruptors and therefore they do nothing. Number 2, they can actually see, they see these disruptors and warning signs, still do nothing. Or they see it, but they putting up wrong response. Or lastly, they put up a delayed response, and that caused them, a missed opportunity. Have a lot of potential. You have all the ingredients for success, yet you're not able to head towards the path leading to growth. And so for me personally, I've been really thinking about this. So let's not forget, we should be able to put up the right response. And how we do that is that we have to be honest ourselves. You got to be asking questions, asking yourself a question. If you look at the next slide, how are you responding, right? You have to be if you can go to how are you responding to your future, right? past and the future. What are the things that you've been doing all this while from the past, in the past, that is leading you to be who you are today, right? Because you cannot actually say that, you know what, I have nothing to do with the past. In fact, what you are today, where you are today, is an outcome of what you have been doing all this while. And then if you kind of proceed to the future without really thinking about the past, then that's the future that you are expected to see. But again, we want a better future, isn't it, right? So in order to do so, we have to be very honest, right? This is what we call by reality check. How are we responding? How are we responding to the disruptors? How are we responding to the warning signs? And what from the past, looking at the past, what are the things that we got to let go? What are the things that we need to continue to keep? What are the things that we got to start new, right? Those are the very important things that we have to be honest about. Because a lot about what we've been doing all this while, past is a mirror. And that can give us an idea of what are the things that we can do to create a better future. We go to the next slide, okay? So looking at that, you have to look at the past, you have to look at the future, right? You have to be very mindful of the future. What are these, again, the warning signs? And you got to be able to anticipate, because those things, by looking at it, tells you what you need to do, what you need to prepare in advance. So one of the things I'd like to ask you to do, okay, leadership is an action, as I mentioned to you. If having an aspiration, having hopes high is very important, but we have to be very honest with ourselves as to how we respond to any given circumstances, whether it be disruptors, whether it be warnings, looking at the past, looking at the future, okay? And specifically, I want to point out that when you're looking at the past, what are the things that you got to let go? Because these things are like keeping you from making the progress that you want to make. What about the future? You want to understand the future, right? You want to anticipate better. And that can give you an idea as to how you need to prepare, right? So you can simply ask, what are the things that you want to continue? What are the things that you want to stop? What are the things you want to start for you to have a better future? What it means by we have to be courageous. Now, okay, being honest means that we are aware, okay, we do a reality check. But courageous means that now we got to do things, take an action, that we are able to improve our reality, right? Next slide. If you can take the next slide, it's very important that we have to be disciplined. Discipline basically means that it is very important, whatever that we have learned today, okay, we call this 3H, whatever the things that we've learned, we put it into our head. Whatever the things, the skills that we've learned, right? Now we should be able to do things better. We are able to serve the public better, right? We've gotten a lot of knowledge, but at the same time, we've picked up some other things that can possibly be translated to you providing a more effective, more efficient, more productive services to serve our community, right? The hands. But foremost, I think very important is we got to have the right heart. And I was very thrilled as I've heard, some of these distinguished speakers speak. They were speaking from their heart that this is a type of the Philippines that we want to create, the country that we want to see happen, right? Yes, I think it's very important that everyone needs to own the heart. Okay, so it is very important that let's not, let's be upfront, let's be eager to pick up the head, hands, and heart. And we got to be doing a reality check every day. How does my head look like in serving the public? How does my hands look like? The doing of knowledge look like in serving the public? And at the same time, how does my heart look like in serving the public? It's very, very important. While we do this, we got to be making that action of improving whatever the reality that we need to, right? So that we are able to really see that aspiration become a reality, right? Lastly, I just want to tell you this, that, especially 2008 financial crisis, okay, if you look at the next slide, I have a personal experience of witnessing the 2008 financial crisis with Lehman Brothers. And I was able to see many of the leadership team of this company that collapsed were actually coming from very esteemed schools in the US and all across the world. Many of these people ended up in jail. And I was able to witness this, despite that they had the head and the hands. They were really smart people. They were really intelligent people. They had great skills, right? But a lot of these people did not own the heart. You may be having the head and the hands, but if you don't have the heart, you may be actually using those wonderful head and the hands of yours for a wrong reason, bringing a wrong result. We really need to be eager to take up the heart. Today, a lot of the schools, right? This is actually a picture of Harvard. In fact, 5 out of the 10 people who ended up in jail for bringing 2008 financial crisis actually came from Harvard. Next slide, right? It is very important that there's so many people out there. Personally, working on the Wall Street, I've experienced why it is so important that we need to have leaders with head, hands, and the heart. And it was because of this gentleman who actually headed the Lehman Brothers, who actually led the company to a collapse. We are leading. We are a wonderful, servants serving the public. This is a very important role. It's a very important responsibility. It is very important that we should pursue. We should be continuously disciplining ourselves to pursue the head, hands, and the heart will, to our utmost ability, serve the public that we can. So kind of wrapping up, I just want to mention to you that next slide, the 4 slides here, okay, we got to be aspirational. Let's not forget that even in the very tough times, very good times, let's be aspirational, hopeful. Let's speak about it. Let's talk about it. Okay? Let's be the influence of helping other people, the public, yourself, and other servants being aspirational. Number 2, it is very important that we have to be honest with ourselves. How are we responding? You have to be very honest in doing that reality check. If you are kind of picking up a delayed response, then that means you have to start picking up more tight actions. Number 3, we got to be courageous. I know that some of the things are daunting, but our ultimate goal is to improve reality, right? It is very, very important. Ask how you're doing. What are the things that you gotta continue, but what are the things that you gotta stop? What are the things that you gotta start new? Because we want to make progress, right? And number 4, this is an everyday thing. And so therefore, let's not kind of go slow with being equipped with the head, hands, and the heart. And so, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Last slide here, let us expect, okay, we got to be expecting great things, okay, for our humanity, right, for our public, for our very beautiful country, the Philippines, but not only expecting, but also do great things, okay? And we are for sure capable of, making things happen for the country. You play a critical part of this work. Thank you very much. I'm so honored to be part of this very esteemed conference. And I wish every one of you the best of luck in serving the country to really make country, the Philippines, a promising and for all of us and for all the Filipinos in the country. Thank you very much.